Hey everyone, it's Andy here. And today's video, I want to talk about the child tax credit and also review some of the new IRS frequently asked questions around the child tax credit. So I'll break this video up into three sections. I'm going to look at a recap of the program guidelines, so everyone's aware of those, and you make sure you know how the qualification works for that. I'm also then going to quickly give an update on the official child tax credit payment schedule. This is for the monthly payments for those that elect to take those monthly payments in 2021. And then I'm going to spend most of the video talking about a whole bunch of new FAQs that the IRS has posted on this child credit because it is going to go to millions of families, 80% of working families according to statistics, and there's going to be payment issues, eligibility issues. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the most common ones and try and help you interpret the IRS one. So that'll be pretty lengthy at the end, but I'll try and go through everything. And you can always leave comments on this video or look at the detailed article I have on this as well. As always, if you find this information useful, please hit the subscribe button. You can get the latest updates, and if you hit the like button, it helps me out with the YouTube algorithm. So, just to recap the child tax credit, so it is expanded. It was 2,000 prior to the new Biden relief plan, the American Rescue Plan, that expanded to 3,000. That was for children from 6 to 17, and then they made it 3,600 for those under 6 because obviously there's more expensive around daycare and all those kind of things for those younger kids. So that's important to understand. The credit has expanded, and that's the first part. The other part is that it is advanced, which means that it's being paid in 2021. So this is technically something you would claim in your 2022 return, but because of the new rules here and the expansion, you can actually claim a lot of those payments monthly in 2021, and I'll show you the schedule shortly. But to get the credit, this is the important part. You must have filed a tax return in 2019 or 2020. There's also a way for you for non-filers to file it, which I'll touch a bit later on. But if you file it, you'll get it automatically. And this should be the bulk of people. So you shouldn't have to take any actions. You should have already got a couple of letters from the IRS, like I have, that show that you're eligible, how it'll be paid. So they've been pretty good about communication around that. So you should have already seen those letters. If you haven't, you'll probably want to refer to some of the FAQs that I'll touch on later on. Again, it was monthly payment starting in July, and I'll show you the date shortly. So this is July, August, September, all the way at the end of the year. It is an option. By default, it is monthly. You can choose. Some people, for tax reasons or because they have shared custody, they're not going to choose the monthly payments. But if you choose monthly, you'll get that 3,000 or 3,600 paid monthly, which works out to $250 each month for every child, 6 to 17. So this is per child. So if you have 4 kids, that's $1,000 extra per month. And then for under 6, you'll have $300 each month. So it's a pretty generous tax credit for a lot of families, especially the larger you get. But the idea is that you'll start getting these through direct deposits if that's how you chose to get paid on your tax return or your tax refund. And then those who don't use direct deposit will get it paid around mail. The IRS is saying around the same time, but like with everything else, I think the direct deposit could be a day or two later from the payment date, and mail can take up to a week longer, just depending on where you live. So it's important to understand the criteria because that'll inform some of the FAQs. And so make sure you understand how they both work. What will then happen is for the remainder of the credit, when you get to 2021 and 2022 and you file your 2021 tax return, you claim the remainder of the credit then. There may be provisions to make it monthly until April as well. There's talk of that. So that may happen. Nothing official in that right now. But generally, the plan is to claim the second half in 2022, and if you don't pick anything for monthly, you claim the entire thing. But it has been expanded for everyone. The monthly payment is the extra option that's been added, which is relatively new. So like I said, the payment schedule is going to be monthly. You can see the payment dates here, generally middle of the month. In August, because of a weekend, it's a bit earlier. So, July 15th, August 13th, September 15th, October 15th, November 15th, and December 15th is when you'll get these payments. Now you have to these will be paid automatically, and right now it's not clear, but you likely have to unenroll every month. You don't want to get the payment, so it's not like you can unenroll for all 6 months. I think it is a monthly month-to-month payment, and I'll touch on that a bit more in the IRS FAQ so you can see the official source. And then the good thing now is that the IRS has provided some really good tools and instructions. I think they've learned from the last few stimulus checks payments that it wasn't always clear. So they put a lot of information on the website, and I'll get to the FAQs shortly. But like I said, you have to make sure to get the payment, you got to be eligible. So you filed your tax return, and then the IRS has also provided a way for non-filers to update their information. This was the same tool used for the stimulus or economic impact payments last year. So now you can go back and update it because your payment details have changed, your dependent information has changed. The main thing is if you file a tax return, you can't do the non-filer, so just be careful. It's one or the other. And the good thing is now they have also got the IRS portal, and this is on irs.gov, so you can go check it official there. Don't go to any other sites or any other people telling you to go put your information elsewhere. It's irs.gov, and you can see on this page, you'll see the advanced child tax credit. You can even search for it on Google. But then what you can do is once you update information, you can actually manage it to see every month. So if your bank account changes or you want to unenroll to stop getting payments because you have shared custody or you've got some tax situations you want to take care of, you can unenroll. So there's a good portal to manage all those things, and most people have access to that right now as well. So just quickly talking about some of the FAQs, I'm going to go through these, all the sections, especially some of the new updates that people may have not seen recently. There's a lot to get through here, so it's I would recommend you go to the IRS page and look at this if you have some specific questions, and I'll put links below to this page in the description for this video. But what I want to show you now is just some of the key FAQs that I think will help, and is some of the questions I've been getting from different people. So if I start here, if I look here, it is pretty comprehensive. There's a lot of questions here. You can see it goes all the way, for every section, there's different questions. But if I start here, some of the recent updates here. So again, like I said, this IRS is really hammering this as well. What do I need to do to get the child tax credit? You need to have filed a tax return. You can even file one for free, and I'll put the links down there. There's a lot of free options to file a tax return. If you don't want to file a tax return or you can't, there is a non-filer tool as well for you to update on the IRS site, which will help you get the information up there, and you can see the link on the screen there. So make sure your IRS has your information. If they don't have your information, they cannot pay you the child tax credit. And you'll also have issues then with retroactive payments if that happens. So, my recommendation is get it there. Do you need income? Nope. The good thing about this is a fully refundable tax credit. So which means even if you don't have any income, you get it, which is really good for people who don't think they have to pay taxes. So this will mean that even if you don't earn anything or you had a loss, you get this credit. And if you have multiple kids or multiple children, this could be a very significant tax credit. So you do not want to miss out on this. Jumping ahead to some more recent ones that I think would be relevant there. So the IRS has been sending letters, and you've been getting lots of letters in the mail. You should have got it about the child tax credit payments, which explains a lot of what I've already covered, but you should have seen those letters. If you haven't seen those letters, you probably want to go check the portal around your payment, those issues. So, and like I talked before, this is not, you don't, even if you get the payments, you won't have to pay tax on them. They're not considered an income, so they're considered advanced tax credit payments. And without getting into the details, they're not income from a taxation perspective. So you get them irrespective of whether you earn income or whether you owe taxes, etc. So they're good there. The other one is if you're getting other benefits, will the child tax credit payments affect any of those? The answer is no. They're not counted as income again. So that's really important to keep understanding. It's not counted as income. So if you're getting other state or local programs that are tied to income eligibility, this will not affect that. So make sure you claim it, even if you're getting other government subsidies or state subsidies as well. The one thing I'll touch on here is please be careful because this is such a wide-reaching program. There's going to be a lot of scams. Do not give your information. If you haven't got paid, don't just follow up and send your personal information or your dependent information. The IRS site is the place to go, and or other official sites. So information here I'm giving you is obviously coming from the official source. Don't be careful of phishing schemes. There've been a lot with the stimulus payments. There will be with this as well. So just be mindful of that. The one exception is if you have ex-spouses and all those kind of things, which I'll talk about shortly, that could affect your payment. So the last one is when can you update your payments? You can update your payments on a monthly basis for every payment. These are the dates here in the IRS. You can do updates here for your bank details or your addresses if you're getting paid by mail. But that can happen on sequential intervals. And IRS is processing this monthly. So think of it like your employer's paycheck. You can only update those things on a monthly basis, or it adjusts on a monthly basis. So I'm going to go to some other questions here around the eligibility here now. So touching on this one here, who is eligible? Again, there is certain criteria. One is obviously income based. The other is that you must have your main home in one of the 50 states of the United States for at least more than half the year. So if you've been overseas for the whole year, you will not get this payment. So it's important to be aware of that. And then the exception is if you're military, that's considered a separate exception there. So just be careful of some of the criteria here, which you can be, which are related to the child tax credit. The other one is qualifying children. So they have changed a little bit. So you have to just be aware of that. So this is where it is important to understand a qualifying child to get this payment. It's one who's does not turn 18 before Jan 1, 2022. So I've been getting this question a bit. So if your dependent turns 18 this year, then you will not be able to get this credit because the criteria is based on 18 before the end of January 2022. And that's because this is an advanced tax credit, so technically would be assessed next year, but the IRS is paying it earlier this year due to the ARPA bill. So the important part is if your kid was 18 this year, you won't get it. Similarly, if your child went from 6 to 7, they'll only qualify for the 7-year-old credit, which is a smaller payment. So just be aware of this date. It's important. It does not turn 18 before January 21, 2022. And then obviously the other criteria is they have to be a stepson, stepdaughter, dependent. That hasn't changed from last year. I've talked about they have to be claimed as a dependent in your tax return or in the non-filer tool, and they cannot file a joint return. So if they file a return, they can't be claimed as a dependent or a child there. And they have to be a U.S. citizen or U.S. resident alien to get this payment. Yes, you need to have a social security number. That was really to combat fraud. So if your child hasn't got that, if you had a baby and you don't have an SSN, you may have to wait till next year in your tax return to claim this. So this is obviously if your child passes away, there's a change, you will get the payment. Again, the adult gets the payment, not the child there. So there's a lot of other questions here. How do you know if eligible? Again, go to the IRS tool. They have a very nice tool called the Advanced Tax Credit Eligibility Assistant. It's just you have to log in and online and pay for those things, but it's a pretty nice tool that you can see, and it's a whole tool there, which I won't get into here for this video, but it's available there if you want to see that. If you're not eligible, you can obviously file through a tax return next year, but you can see all the criteria here. It's pretty black and white over there. And no, until you're eligible, you will not get the payments. So even if you are not sure and there's issues, you'll have to wait till your IRS acknowledges you're eligible. And if you go through it and they find you are, then you will get retroactively paid, or you claim it in your 2021 tax return you file next year. Jumping to the next topic again, the calculation of the credit. So the amount of the credit, I've already talked about it earlier. This is it here, $3,600. There is a $500 credit for non-refundable credit for other dependents, but that's a separate topic. That's been there for the last few years, which you can qualify based on certain income. And so the biggest thing is that there is a income limit that is there, and I touched on that on the earlier slides up front. So you just need to be aware of that this bill credit will also phase out above certain levels of income. And income, according to the IRS, is modified adjusted gross income. So that's what they use to calculate it, and you can find it on your IRS form 1040 in line 11. So you'll see it over there. So there is phase outs that you need to be aware of that you can read out here. And so if your income is above this certain level, 150 for married, 112, 75, it does phase out there. So you just need to be aware of this. And I would say have a look at this if you're not sure. And I've covered in a detailed article below this, which I'll link to this below. So what happens here, how will you receive the payment? So once you file a return, it'll be sent to you the way you generally had in your return, right? So it'll either be direct deposit, debit card, or check. So most people will see the same way they saw their stimulus checks. And you don't need to do anything. This is all going to happen automatically unless you're using the non-filer tool or you have issues with your past tax return. And one question is, you do not need to file an amended return to get your return. So don't just file another tax return. There's ways to do that that's more efficient. So one thing that was added pretty recently is here. You can also do, this payment is not going to be garnished for federal offsets right now, but if you do owe taxes later on in the future, you can use the IRS portal to fix, any previous excess amounts are paid if you had dependent changes. So, you can't claim, two people cannot claim the child tax credits. If that happens, you will have features here to sort of make sure that you're not overpaid, so you don't end up having to pay a penalty next year. So it's important to read this. I will definitely say have a look at these documents, these links here to get more information over there. So there's all this repayment protection here, so people who are worried about that should have a look at this and read those questions as well. And then, it goes on here that when you file your tax return next year, you will have to reconcile it. You will get a letter from the IRS 6419 that'll tell you how much was paid in 2021. So when you file your tax return next year, you'll know how much you can claim or if there's any underpayments or overpayments. So be aware of that as well. So this will be one of those documents you got to just be aware of that comes through next year, like the stimulus payments that happened this year as well. The other question I get is, why would I enroll? So again, this is more for tax reasons, and it's also because if someone else is claiming them over there, and if you owe taxes, so there's certain reasons, and but you can't be forced to pay taxes or take payments you don't want to take from the IRS. So you need to unenroll every month. This is essentially not going to be a one and done thing. You'll have to do it every month, 3 days before. So this is the deadlines to unenroll from the tax credit. So it's important to be aware of that. So if you want to unenroll, do it. Otherwise, you'll get it paid over there. And it says here, like he says, yes, you will get the next schedule until we request your process to unenroll. So it's at an individual level, not at a spouse level. So make sure it's just like taxes. You have to, still have your own thing. So make sure you enroll at an individual level over there. And if you don't both enroll, you'll get half the payment. So it doesn't help you. So make sure if you're filing a joint return, both you and your spouse go to the IRS site here and enroll effectively to get paid there. And then the last part is more for residency. So if you're in Puerto Rico, you will not get the advanced child tax credit. Or if you're residents of other areas, you may be eligible, but you'll have to check with the local tax credit. So there's some stricter restriction on this, again, just to manage fraud and all those kind of things. But the good thing is there's a lot of FAQs. I went through this, and you really are not going to not find any questions. But if you can't, leave a comment here. I'll get back to you, and I'll try and answer it for those who have. If you can't find it here, I'll try and at least get you an answer if I can't find it here myself. Well, hopefully this was helpful for you all. And if you have any more questions, again, leave a comment, and please hit the subscribe or like button if this was helpful. Bye.